Now let's think about it. What's wrong with that? I mean, you really can't spend beyond your means, can you? The debts have to be paid, don't they? And if you run up a deficit and you spend beyond your means, that's going to generate inflation. All of those things are wrong. They're just completely wrong. Governments, can they spend beyond their means? What do you mean by means? You know, a government has the means to raise taxes, that's one thing. But there's a more fundamental issue here. The deficit itself is not a problem. It's the first thing that people should realize. The UK deficit, first of all, it's falling, but even if it wasn't falling, it wasn't a problem when George Osborne came into power and began mismanaging the economy. Very briefly, there's a simple way to see this. In 2010, the UK economy had a deficit because the economy had contracted. Right? In much of the 2000s, before the crisis, the UK economy had been the budget had been very close to balance. Then the international financial crisis hit. When that hit, UK national income began to fall, people's incomes began to fall, taxes began to fall. That was not a problem. That was not a problem being generated by the economy. That was the solution to the problem of a falling economy. And what I mean by that is that the problem of the contracting economy was a result of inadequate spending. Businesses, frightened by the collapse of the international economy, had reduced their expenditure. Consumers, worried about the future, were reducing their purchases of things like automobiles and houses and other durable goods. Of course, you can't stop spending on food, but what are called durable goods, you can delay. You can make your television last longer and so on. Okay. What the economy needed was more spending. And a fall in taxes meant that people were left with more disposable income which they could spend. So actually the growing deficit, which represented a reduction in the money which the government was taking away from people through taxes, was a good thing. George Osborne's mistake, I don't think it was a mistake. I mean, from our point of view, it was a mistake. He had an ideological agenda, and it was amazing over a few months how he was able to convince people of his ideological agenda. And his ideological agenda was, I can use this government deficit to shrink the public sector. That the UK economy has a public sector which is designed to reduce poverty and to redistribute income and to make a fair system. And Osborne saw the chance to begin to reduce the ability of the state to do that. And the tool he would use, the ideological tool he would use, was to say, we're spending beyond our means. We cannot afford to do this. He even at one point said, we can't afford to raise taxes either. Maybe we could have once, but we can't now. Those are all just ideological statements. So he began to reduce expenditure, even raise taxes a little bit. You may recall he raised VAT. The effect of that was to make the problem worse. And that's why we still have the deficit. The reason we still have the deficit is because the economy has grown so slowly, that taxation has grown slowly, and the growth of the economy has been in low-wage employment, people, many of whom have incomes so low they can't pay taxes, they are exempted from paying taxes. So as a result of that growth pattern, the economy has grown very, very slowly, taxes have grown very, very slowly, and the deficit persists. Some people say that's a failure. Well, First of all, I don't think it's a failure because it was never a problem. But it's great for the Tories because they can say, we have to keep trying. You know, we tried to solve this problem, but it was much more serious than we thought, and we have to continue cuts, and we can't increase expenditure. So why can't you increase expenditure? Because by not increasing expenditure, parentheses, by not increasing expenditure, we made the economy grow so slowly. The deficit wouldn't contract, and now that the deficit wouldn't get smaller, we can use that deficit for an excuse to cut more.